everybody. I love that. Thank you for participation. That is absolutely awesome. As you know, we kind of started with some interaction while you were here because today, we're all in businesses and entrepreneurs here to have a larger payday, right? To put another 100 grand or two in our pocket, and most importantly, to get some golden nuggets, to take them back to your business to be able to grow them successfully. Because if you go to any conference, anything, any meeting, and you get one golden nugget, it's worth it. At our family business, we took a golden nugget once and turned it into $1 million over a couple years. Another one into $60,000 from sending out a letter. You never know what one golden nugget can do to help you grow your businesses. Welcome. My name is Joseph Hastreiter with the EWH University for Small Business, a university dedicated to providing entrepreneurs with the skills, tools, and training to be successful. Because where as entrepreneurs do we really learn how to run this thing called a business? So often in business, entrepreneurs have a great talent or skill. They're great at doing the books. They're great at making the pie. They're great at building the house. They're great at doing the IP. They're great at doing the digital marketing. But no one's taught them how to wear the business ownership and leadership hat. Of being able to how to run the business and lead the team and themselves to success. So we're going to talk more today about the 7 drivers to growth and how to turbocharge your business. And another way of putting that is if your business is broken down or you're burnt out in some way, there's only one of 7 ways that your business is broken down or burnt out. And especially once those things are in a good place, you can turbocharge it. And though, to give us an idea for where we all are in the room, because businesses come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, first, just let's check in to see how many years some of you have been in business. How many of you are just starting, thinking of starting, or have been in business for less than a year? Awesome. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause quick. Congratulations, because I'm so happy you're here at the start. So often we meet people later on down the road when there's problems. And while we can teach you what you need to know about a business, even over time, though, as you learn it, you got to implement it and go forward. So thank you guys for being here. It's the best place. Here's the next thing real quick. Put your hands up, and I'm going to ask you to keep them up as I go through a couple questions. How many of you have been in business for at least 3 years? Awesome. If you've been in business more than 5, keep them up. 10. Bunch went down. That's because 96% of businesses fail in 10 years. How many are at 15 years or more? 20. A lot more went down there too. 25. 30? How many years? 30? Give him a round of applause. That's absolutely amazing. It is one thing to get in the game. It is another thing to stay in the game. Next question real quick to help understand the sizes of the business in the room. How many of you are solopreneurs? One person? Awesome. How many of you have 5 employees or less? Okay. How many of you have 5 or more? Okay, keep them up for a second. How many are 10 or more? 15 or more? 20 or more? 25 or more? 30, 50, 100, 200, 300, 1,000, 2,000, 2,500? Holy criminy, give this man a round of applause. That's amazing. In fact, to those 2 gentlemen, here's just, again, there's 100 grand for you and 100 grand for you. See, we're doling out money just like they did during COVID, right? So, with that being said, let's rock and roll on how to turbocharge our business here today. So again, just to cover this, the stats are staggering. 96% fail within 10 years. 4% of businesses only get to $1 million. And only 4% get to 20 employees or more. 80% of small businesses are 1 person. The other, 16% or whatever it is, are between 1 and 19. What these stats help demonstrate is that the bottom line is so many people have a challenge either growing their business, their cash flow, and their team, and especially if you're going to get over $500,000, and especially if you're going to get over the $1 million mark, you have to know how to do all 3 of those things or you will not be able to scale. It does not matter how much money your sales bring in if you are not making money or you're not collecting it. And once your business gets larger than you in terms of your team and your customers, you got to be able to leverage your team to train and deliver what you can't all do yourself anymore, to service your customers or to be able to sell it. So that's when you have to wear the leadership hat and then have the business skills and tools and how to lead the business and the team and grow cash flow all at the same time. Any of you ever heard of Keith Cunningham? Maybe. How many of you ever heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Right? He's Rich Dad from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And ultimately, I totally lost my train of thought was what I was going to say there. But, it'll come back to me later. But the bottom line, because most people are trying to figure out how to grow their business and make more money. Because sometimes, depending on how your business works and sales work and profits work and cash flow work, it's like you're growing sales and profit, but there's no cash left in the bank. An extreme example of that is like a landscaper. They have low profit margins, usually 10%, and they have a bunch of notes and equipment. That eats up your cash quick. So then people come to us and they go, my financial statement tells me I have a profit here. Where's my cash? Good question, right? So we ultimately need to be able to do these three things. And that's why our solution is our university, to systematize how to learn to become an entrepreneur. You can see we got the bat symbol up there, right? We like superheroes. By the way, if for some of you that visit our booth, our QR code that goes to our growth station, you will see our own version of the bat symbol. You just follow that, set up a discovery call. We'll make sure you're taken care of. So, and actually that's the picture you'll see on the site. So just follow the bat symbol. Next, businesses are complex, but they are not infinitely complex. And it just has certain parts. And this is the 7 drivers. Think of your business like a bus. And I'm writing a book on this that will be out in about 4 to 6 months. So you guys are also, and as we go through this today, take notes. We're about to go through essentially a 2-minute huddle on the 7 areas of your business, so you can have a 15-minute huddle right now to reflect on these key areas and what you need in place. Today is not about the how, and we only got 30 minutes, right? So we got to be pretty efficient. But really quickly, as we go through these areas, think about when I mention something, what you're doing great, what's missing, or is there some real problems you need to address quick? Because you'll be able to do kind of a quick self-reflection and know what you need to focus on leaving here with some real tangible goals. So leadership is the driver's seat. Marketing is the engine that gets things moving. Sales is what gets you traction and gets you moving. You people on the bus, your crew, your passengers, internally, externally, are the people that keep you in business, either by doing the work or also your customer base by fulfilling their needs and wants. Your cash flow is the fuel tank. Your bus and the body and how it comes together are the systems. And ultimately, what your business is there to deliver is product or services, great products and services. And ultimately, all of our business do that because that's your gift to the marketplace. It's what your bus delivers. And our product or services in the marketplace meet needs and wants, which is why every single business makes a difference and add value in a different way. So you want to be aware, do you have great product or service? Is it consistent? We'll talk about that more as we go through. But those are the 7. Because ultimately in your business, I'll come back to that in a moment. Ultimately in your business, everything is one of these 7 problems. If the bus or something is broken down, there's a challenge with the leadership, the marketing's not generating leads, sales aren't priced profitably in closing, your team's not working well together or fighting, you're not a confident leader or don't have the tools you need on your dashboard in the driver's seat of your business, you have no systems that are enmeshed or outdated or inefficient or time-consuming or stressful or whatever they are, and maybe you have a good product or service. You don't need a good product or service actually to make a lot of money. Look at McDonald's. Right? Most successful business in the world, and it'll kill you if you eat enough of it. Right? So if you have a problem, it's in one of these areas. And we want to make sure that you can deliver great product or service and you have that consistency you need, which we'll talk about in a moment, especially when we come back to marketing. All right, in my passion a little bit, I forgot to tell you a little bit about me. I do have a couple weaknesses as a presenter, by the way. I do know I talk really fast, right? So if you need me to slow down a little bit, just give me this. I'm just also trying to add as much value in the time that we have here for all of you today. Just a little bit about me. I am the founder of the EWH University for Small Business. This business started as a family business. Me and my dad owned an accounting firm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We had 50 employees, 15 CPAs, 4 locations. We did monthly accounting for about 825 small businesses. We were the 8th largest e-filer in the state of Wisconsin. Well, I went to school for accounting, and I know that skill, and I went through every single seat in the company. My real passion was people, which is eventually why for a decade I ran our sales and marketing department with all the new leads that came in, presentations we gave, clients we brought on board. During that 15 years of the family business, I worked with 10,000 businesses. We've had 3,500 businesses that have come through this workshop. I've seen them in all shapes and sizes. And ultimately, what you're learning here today is the ultimate blueprint to run your business. There is a blueprint to the 7 areas of your business. And I know, because when I joined our family business when I was 24, we were gifted to come from a franchise. They give you your business model. They tell you how it works. Most businesses don't even have that. And then over 15 years, first off, my department, the sales department, was the only department in the entire company that wasn't innovated like in 30 years. Because we had a sales director who delivered the results. I can tell you the number one thing I remember growing up was my dad coming home complaining about his relationship with his sales manager. And when I joined the firm, I remember thinking, we're not going to live with this guy with the rest of our life. So strategically over the years, figuring out how to segue that, but the bottom line is I got to work with 10,000 businesses and see all sorts of patterns, including our own. So that's where the university came out to systematize how to teach people the skills and tools to run a successful business. Plus, for any of you, you can access our podcast through our website. I had a radio show in southeastern Wisconsin, the largest radio station in all of Wisconsin, 118 shows there that we did over 3 years, and we've just transitioned into a podcast because we have more freedom, flexibility to be able to do what we want. EWH stands for my dad. It's our family business that we got to run together. That's my dad and my mom. My dad's my hero, my dad, my partner, and my best friend. Rest his soul, along with my mom. And they taught us together that teamwork makes the dream work. So I was very blessed to be able to have them growing up to teach me how to run a business, and then I got to do it with them. And that's ultimately why we created this all for you. Because your business is either going to give you your entrepreneurial dream or it's going to take it away. You will run and own your business or it'll run and own you. So many businesses don't make money and survive. These blueprints to these areas that we did, learned, mastered, and innovated, and as we went through, I write it all down, and that's what goes into this university, and every time we talk to anybody, we're constantly improving it, make it better. So let's get rolling on these 7 key areas. First, let's talk about leadership, and I want you to think about it this way. First off, we're at the leadership part of the bus. I want you to think about sitting in the driver's seat of your business. Yes, please take pictures. Sit in the driver's seat of your business, and you need these things on your dashboard or to be able to reach into your glove box to be able to drive your business just like you drive your car. So if you're going to do that, you need a vision and a mission. Your mission is your why, your purpose. What is your fuel to get up every day? And it doesn't have to be perfectly written out. It has to be something that just inspires you and is real to you. You then need a vision. Where do you want to go? But a vision has to be backed by a strategic plan to be real. Jeff Bezos said it great. Him, Jamie Dimon, and Warren Buffett teamed up once to be able to figure out a solution to healthcare costs for their employees. One of the things that Jeff Bezos said is they had an idea, not a vision, because they don't know how to make it happen in the real world yet. Until your vision is backed by a plan of how you're going to make it happen, it's not going to go anywhere. Now, you can't start with how, because people get stuck in the tyranny of the how, as Tony Robbins calls it. You need to know what your why and your what that you're aiming for, right? So super important. And then, by the way, no strategic plan is good unless it has a budget, because your strategic plan needs to be represented in your budget, and your budget is going to reflect the strategic plan. The two are tied together. Ultimately, what you also need for you are what I call the rules of the road, or sometimes people call them values or rules of the game. What's most important to guide you in creating your culture for your business? And they are for you first. How do you want to show up every day? What's the example of leadership you want to model? They're not just to put on some wall. What matters most is you then following and leading with them. So they're really how you want to define your leadership for you and your culture, right? So next is then you need a dashboard with KPIs or key performance indicators, the most important numbers in your business. And those most important numbers will always start on your financial statement. Your profit and loss statement, for example. What's your cost of goods sold? What's your profitability? What's your average sale? Right, and make sure you're getting financials, right? Because those are like the fuel gauges. Cash is the ultimate fuel in your business. You have no cash, you're not going anywhere, right? You're out of gas. Then you need systems of support to run your efficiency profitably and efficiently and effectively and without mistakes and with quality and to exceed expectations, which we'll come back to. And then ultimately, you need to be good with people and leadership because you're going to be the driver of this bus. It's your business, it's your bus. So we'll talk about that more when we get to that section. But that's the leadership driver's seat. If you're sitting in the driver's seat of your business, you need to know your vision and your mission to be able to get up and fuel yourself every day. You need a strategic plan to know where you're aiming. You need a budget to keep you on track financially. You need rules of the road to keep your culture where you want. Dashboard and KPIs so you know what to monitor every day, especially when you're not the one doing the work every day anymore. And then you need the systems, because once you have that, you have something called leverage. It's not all dependent on you. You have systems and a team in place to be able to service the customers, bring in the cash flow, and get new clients. So those are the keys you want in the driver's seat to be thinking about or reflecting on this area. So if there's some gaps, it's in one of those spots. Next, marketing. Real quick, there are 3 keys to any successful marketing. Your marketing is based on telling an effective story. In our mastery program, we actually break this down into 8 steps. So no matter where you're telling your marketing, you can tell the story. Because if you got 30 minutes versus 2 minutes versus 30 minutes, that's a little bit different, right? But there's 3 ultimate steps: pain, problem, solution, and result. For example, just very quickly, in fact, is Jeff Ruderman in here? Is he in here? No, he's not? Okay, I'll come back to him later. Let's do this. Moji does intellectual property. Right? So one of the problems that somebody might have is that they've been in business for a while. Before I met Moji, none of my IP was protected, and it actually kept me up late at night because I didn't want anybody just to go out there and steal it. And then I met her, that she does intellectual property. She walked me through how copyrights and trademarks worked, got me set up, and now my stuff is copyrighted, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. That is real quick off the cuff. But what I did there is there's a problem. I position the solution, and there's a result. There's a problem every time you or her work with a client. There's a service or product that's your solution. And then there is the result that you get them on the other side. So if you're crafting a testimonial, a 45-second networking commercial, a 2-paragraph description for an event online, anything. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Anything, you want those 3 steps. So, Moji and I are in the same B&I group, so I can tell you that every single week when we give our commercials, we're doing those 3 steps in 45 seconds, right? So anyone else in B&I? Anyone else? No? Oh, Jim, yes, Jim back there, thank you. Next, here's the other most important thing about marketing. Your best marketing is retention. Taking care of the people that you already have. No business can grow without keeping your customers. That then leads to referrals, which is why you need to meet and exceed expectations. It is not enough just to meet expectations, because good customers will leave at the appearance of something even better. So you need to meet and exceed them so you retain them and refer to them, and then your marketing on top of that grows it. Because in any business, you're gonna have clients that you lose, move, all sorts of stuff. So you gotta keep the ones you have and get new ones to be able to build on the growth, okay? Also, then for a marketing plan, you need to know what are your activities, where are they on your calendar, what are the dates, who are they with, what groups or what people, and what's your marketing budget. And ultimately, how are you going to broadcast that? What vehicles, what materials? And by the way, your marketing needs to be clear, concise, and catchy. And here's the golden nugget on that. Catchy is last. If you sacrifice clear and concise for catchy, you will not get the outcome you want, because they won't know what it is. A confused mind does not buy. So you want to make sure your story is clear and concise, and then it's catchy. So that's a little bit about the vehicles. And again, the vehicles, like, is it radio, direct mail, email? How do you broadcast your message to the world to get your story out there? All right, next, I got to keep moving here pretty quick. You guys getting value? Good? Yes. Awesome, thank you. Awesome, fantastic. Wow, I said that really loud. You see, I have no shortage of enthusiasm. Right, by the way, they're called the enthusiasm zone up here, so some of it's rubbing off. It's perfect, absolutely great. Next. Sales, for sales here, the first thing is making sure that you're marketing however you're capturing your leads. Are you a restaurant and capturing people while they're walking by? Is your web form capturing it? Are you following up on those leads? Next, there's 5 steps to a sales conversation. Rapport, getting in that state of rapport with them. Discovery, asking questions to understand their needs and their wants. Storytelling, it's what I just told you with those 3 steps. How do you tell your story when you get to that part? What are the next steps? What's the follow-up? Capturing the sale, click here, buy now, and then buttoning it down to make sure it happens. We did our sales essentials class. We had a grant writer that just started that came through. We did this with her, talked about her sales process. She goes, I can't close, I'm getting stuck. We realized she was leaving out the next steps part. I taught her 1 sentence, which was, this is what happens next. She had a meeting later that day and closed it. Yes. another 100 grand in her pocket, or larger payday, whatever it was, right? And ultimately, too, this is important. You need to understand your pricing and your positioning and how that factors into the value that you add. And you need to make it easy to buy. Super important. Next, cash flow. Regardless of the size of your business, every single one of you, at least once a month on this part, needs a monthly reporting checklist. Meaning, what do you need at the end of the month to do your accounting? At a minimum, a profit and loss statement with your revenue and expenses. I need my bank statement, my credit card statement, and my POS reports. Then you automatically, every month, you know exactly what you need to get. You get your checklist out, you get that there, and you just block the time for 2-3 hours to do your books. Or, once you're big enough, you delegate that off your desk in a hurry, right? Which is what we did at the CPA firm. We help clients put a reporting system in place to get financial statements from us, to get guidance and tax planning. All right, so we would actually give them a client accounting manual. We would literally hand them all of their accounting systems in a manual, implement it, and then they would report it to us, and we do that for them. And especially if you're over $500,000 and you do not have a monthly accountant, please look at that. And there's always exceptions to that, but some general rules. But ultimately, when you get that large, too, you're probably going to need a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. And I can't get into the nitty-gritty here because this is a whole class in of itself, but that's kind of it. And then once we have our scorecards of how we're doing in business, we need a budget. Where are we going? How are we going to grow there? I remember I did a budget with a guy that wanted to go to about 3 million, and then we backed into how many clients he needed at the average ticket price because he did industrial with like warehouse stuff, so like a $10,000 average like transaction size. So then because once you ask them how big they want to get, and then you see how many more clients they need, and then how many leads do you need, and how big is your team going to be, you go, oh, wow, right? But that's why we do it, because we need to know what the vision actually looks like. We have this dream. The dream is not enough. The dream needs a vision and a plan, or it's just an ideal. So we need to know how to do that. So we need a budget, we need dashboards to know our key performance indicators, and I could talk about this next one longer, but ultimately you really do need to know what should you be doing as the owner, what should your internal bookkeeper be doing if you have one, and what does your accountant need to be doing. Understanding that is huge with getting these pieces right. Next, the people and crew passengers. One, the communication kit. First off, every business should have a communication kit. I'm gonna come back to the first thing in a moment, but you need to understand people. You need to know how to have leadership conversations. You know those 5 steps I talked about in the sales conversation? They're too good just to be wasted on sales. Sales is just leadership in a context. Sales is just leadership to a decision. Everyone in your company is in leadership. Doesn't matter if it's a cold caller trying to help somebody going from no interest to interest. Salesperson leading them from interest to being a client. Your onboarding person leading them from not being on board to being on board. Your manager trying to lead the new rep to just starting to be a successful rep. The owner trying to lead their team to a new result. We're all in leadership. So those 5 steps in that conversation can be used anywhere. And then there's just certain communication skills within there. And then especially when you understand people, sorry, I keep wanting to jump ahead here, you can tell. Understanding people, there's 4 types of drivers in your business. Any of you ever heard DISC? DISC is a phenomenal tool for leadership. I am certified in 7 different personality assessments. I have a slight passion for people, right? So I went and searched out every tool over the last 15 years. I've added one about every 2 years. And I can tell you, DISC is the best one for your business and organization because there's no better way to match up the person's skill and potential with the role. To keep it simply, there's 4 types of drivers in your business, because if you need a CEO, that's one type of driver. If you need a CFO, that's one type of driver. You need a sales director, that's one type of driver. You need an operations director, that's a different type of driver. And you can match up somebody's skills, nature, and talent with the role. We did it at the firm, bookkeepers and CPAs. I could literally tell you if that person was going to be there in 5 years. If the job fit them. Not necessarily if there was a culture, personality problem. Right? But looking at that, I could tell, is that person going to be able to do bookkeeping for 30 hours a week? Is that person going to want to be out in the field for 40 hours a week? So it's a really fabulous tool. If you contact us, we can provide you guys with a complimentary one too, if you'd like to check that out. And again, it's used in hiring and benchmarking. And then it's great with your team in sales and service because you know how to adapt your communication to them. It's not about the golden rule. It's about the platinum rule. Treat others as they want to be treated, not as you want to be treated. Because treating others how you want to be treated only works if you're like me. So when we understand these differences, we know if somebody talks fast like me, or is a little bit slower, or they're more extroverted or more introverted, or naturally loud or quiet, or more focused on the task or the people, or going to love being outside or love being behind the computer. We can get all those insights because we all know how much the wrong hire costs us. Oh my God. Holy criminy. Products or services. We have 10 secrets to great product or services. I'm only going to cover 1 because it's the most important. The number 1 thing you do in your business to grow is meet and exceed expectations. It leads to retention and it leads to referrals. And here is why it is so important. Your customers can get what they want and still be upset. If they do not get what they want, how they want, when they want it, even if it was just a miscommunication, anytime you have unmet expectations, you have room for upset. So to meet and exceed those expectations is huge, huge. And ultimately, to be able to do all this as a business owner, especially when you're gonna get to $500,000, $1 million, 2, 3, 5, 10, you need systems in every area of your business. At our family accounting firm, we had this on lockdown. We had about 10 different operating manuals. It might have been 9 to run our business. A new hire manual, an employee manual, a processing manual for the bookkeepers, a trainer manual for the people to know how to train the bookkeepers and the accountant's manual. We had an owner's manual to run the firm. I was responsible for our sales manuals, our inside marketing, our cold callers that called, our outside salespeople, the university stuff that we created. We had every single thing there, so we had resources and handbooks and training tools to know how the wheel operates so that we could operate the business model at the best. Now, it's not just about the manuals. It's about bringing them to life and making them work and doing the work in the real world to make it real, because that's where all the work starts. But you need the know-how. You need to know how the wheel operates. You need a blueprint. And I know we didn't have this blueprint. This is the university in the book I wish I had when I started. So much of this stuff, that when I went along, I captured all of it for myself, and then eventually I'm like, other people need this. Because there was so much brain damage we had to do from 4.5 to 10 million. Your business goes through some different changes during that period of time, right? Just like it always does. So you want manuals. And here's the other good thing. When I was back at the firm, we didn't have ChatGPT. Oh my God, the time we would spend manuals drafting for back in there, oh my God, now it is like this. If I would have had ChatGPT back at the firm, man, holy criminy. I mean, what we can do now, like, so easily. I can go talk to my ChatGPT. Literally, you get this. It was a couple weeks ago. I needed literally an ambassador job description written up. I am laying in bed at like 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I dictate on my phone exactly what this job description is, the outcome of the job, the roles, and the pay, and literally, I'm not even getting out of bed, and I have a job description. And I don't even think I had to prompt ChatGPT more than once. So between that, Slack, and tools like this for communication, doing training videos, transcribing things, it's easier than ever now to create systems and trainings to be able to leverage this for you. Super easy. Lastly, there are 7 drivers of growth. I lied. There's 8. But the 8th one's not part of the bus. It's you. You are the driver. Bill Belichick, former coach of the New England Patriots, said, no players can outperform bad coaching. No business can outperform bad driving long term. Or it will crash. Or lose money. And I don't know if you ever heard of the metaphor, everything in life's a feather, a brick, or a truck. Right? Make a mistake with a customer, cost you $50. Then all of a sudden you lose one. Then all of a sudden you do something, it's in the papers, you lose your entire business. Right? Feather, brick, truck. But ultimately, you are the driver. And it's your life. And your business is either going to give you the life that you want or it's going to take it from you. You're going to run it or it's going to run you. And ultimately, why you are building this business, your entrepreneur dream, is to give you the life that you want. And for us and entrepreneurs, our business is going to be the primary vehicle that provides our life, our friends and family with everything that we want from our life. That's what it's all about. Nobody ever gets to their deathbed in which they spent more time at the office, right? Nobody. And don't be so busy building a business you forget to create a life. Make a wish, have a vision, create a plan, do the work, learn the blueprints, implement, learn, improve, grow, repeat. Make your business a masterpiece, create a legacy. That's a picture of me and my mom, Dad. That was us on a family trip in college to Germany, where we're from. That's us, actually. This is in Germany. They had our last name, a bunch of places. It's a fun little picture of me and my family. And that's me, but ultimately I share those pictures because that's what it's about. That's really what you're doing this all for. You're doing it for them and you, and your business is going to be a great vehicle. And while you're doing that, have a ton of fun while you're doing it, and make sure you get rich. But it ain't easy, and it's worth it, right? So first off, also, it's National Small Business Week. want to thank you all for being entrepreneurs and being here. And scan that code, please. Because when you go there, you can download our growth kit. You get one of our courses free online. And I would recommend to some of you who have a sales essentials cash flow essentials class, growth essentials class. There's a number of them. Whatever area of your business we just talked about, you can find. So use one of those. Also, you get our library of executive summaries, which is huge, which every time I get asked a question by a business owner on how to grow, I write an executive summary on it. So it's all of our commonly asked questions on how to grow a business. Plus, I'm going to send you our 10 Secrets to Results guide that I mentioned. And there will be an invitation for any of you to set up a complimentary discovery call where we'll talk to you, learn about your business. We also have a complimentary self-assessment on these 7 parts of your business we can use, see where you're at, and design a growth plan in terms of what do you need to learn, implement, execute better in terms of training tools and coaching. And I have a book coming soon. So if you go and download that, I will make sure that you are the first to know, and you never know, you might get a free digital copy in your email box too. So I'm just saying you might want to go grab that. So I'll leave that up there. I got about 1 minute. So I just want to first off say thank you. Thank you all for being here today. I'm so grateful, so excited. You've been an amazing audience. It's been totally packed. How many of you got a lot of value out of today? Awesome, that's amazing. Thank you. So take those golden nuggets home, put another 100 grand in your pocket, make sure you get a larger payday, keep growing your business, make it fun, make your business and life a masterpiece. Please see it as booth 520, everybody. We got a ton of golden nuggets for you there in more ways than just candy. So thank you very much. Rock and roll, everybody.